Activism Action Essays 2. Chapter 1. Activism Action Essays 7-13. Activism Action 7. Make your point and make it stick. There is no free speech. It's all bought and paid for. Who will watch the leaders for corruption? The Irish used a lot of violence trying to free themselves from British rule, but in their case it was justified. What the British saw as terrorists, the Irish saw as freedom fighters. The same goes for Palestine. They feel their homeland was invaded by a conspiracy of the United Nations, United States, and the Jews when they made Israel a country after World War II, in effect, leaving the Palestinians living there without their own sovereign nation. The Poles brought down communism by their strength in numbers. The first free vote was 99% against the communists. The communists couldn't fight, imprison, or kill all their enemies, so they knew they were licked, but that was mostly Gorbachev's doing. Some wealthy American and Canadian businessmen brought him to North America quietly before he was the leader of the USSR without any publicity, and showed him the grassroots of the American and Canadian societies, after which they told him he was the one to change Russia, and he did. Recently the Ukrainians protested a scandalous election through sheer numbers and forced a re-election where the right guy got in. If you don't do anything, it ain't gonna get done. Sometimes it takes bloodshed. If you're a slave or a serf with a horrible lifestyle, you got nothing to lose. It's like Thomas Paine's statement, "Give me liberty or give me death." The problem is that if people live in comfortable homes with comfort foods and silly shows on TV, that's good enough for over 90% of them. Life doesn't get any better than that. Why should they care about starving people in Africa, pollution destroying the earth, or even this police state Canada and the United States are degenerating into with a gradual erosion of our freedoms? The tax rate is way too high for the services we get, while the politicians continue to waste our money, but nobody seems to do much about it. I became a radical in the 1980s when they passed the seatbelt law, then the helmet law for bicyclists. There is something seriously wrong when they start passing laws for activities that have no victims except for maybe the person doing the activity, but that should be a matter of his or her own free will. If I want to smoke dope, hire a sex worker, or allow smoking in a bar I own, that should be my business, nobody else's. That's why I'm angry. I like to use recreational drugs, but it's hard to get them when I have to go sneaking around because of those stupid laws that deprive us of our freedom to live our lives freely the way we want. Most people live pretty good lives. They don't need the headaches of activism except maybe for a thrill or to meet chicks or guys. If you want to get in the activism business, do your homework. Study the history of activism, study other movements, study your own cause. Learn from all of them. Go to number 323 at the library. Learn from activists online. Activism Action 8. Get involved with people you can trust who are serious about the cause. Many people are there for social reasons, to do something that will please their God, or to meet someone they might be able to fall in love with. That's all right, but align yourself with the serious activists who want to get something done. Before you take any action, think it through and write it out. If it involves illegal activity, do it on paper, then burn it afterwards. Don't put it on your computer. Study every aspect of it, do a reconnaissance where you go check out the place physically. Prep your people well. Beware of undercover people or infiltrators into your group who will tell the authorities on you. The cops routinely send undercover people to big activist group meetings and protests. Before you start your own organization or cause, consider joining a like-minded one, learn from them, then either stay with them and start your own chapter or go off and start your own group. In any case, pace yourself. Be wary of burnout. Learn from other similar actions in the past. It's all there in media archives. Get help from organizations similar to yours with a similar agenda. You can achieve publicity for your cause by filing lawsuits, running for public office, possibly winning, and using the media any way you can. Become the media yourself. Start a newspaper, radio show, a regular column, email newsletter, website, etc. When you're out in public doing some manner of protest, Cooperation with the police and telling them in advance will often get you much more points than being antagonistic. In many cases, the cops just want to keep the peace. They have a union too. They are sympathetic to some protests as long as you do it in peace, but still be wary that there are many right-wing cops out there with brutal tactics to cage people in during a protest then start beating on them. Some cops are reasonable, some aren't, but they all answer to their code of allegiance to their group. That's as close as you can ever get to trusting a cop. Review your actions. Set up a website. Be wary of the USA Patriot Act and the Homeland Security Act, which either give the authorities more legal rights to hassle activists and or give them the arrogance to do what they want. There will be printing costs for posters, flyers, etc. Be prepared for arrests. Have a lawyer and bail money on standby. Activism Action 9. Comfort the disturbed. Disturb the comfortable. Before you get into activism, consider the risks. You could get injured, slandered, portrayed as a left-wing pinko, get arrested, lose your job, or your actions could cause others to do things that ultimately harm them. Can you live with your actions? If you've done questionable activities in the past, your enemies will dig them up and make them public. When you're actively protesting, some people will agree to anything face-to-face to get you to disappear, but you have to produce a contract to get it in writing which you can later legally enforce, otherwise it's useless. Corporate heads are not stupid. They are very aware that they can promise you anything just to get rid of you, but you have to produce a statement or contract for them to sign, otherwise they will just promise you the moon to alleviate the immediate problem, then blow you off at a later date. Even if what they sign is just a piece of paper with no legal power, it still has symbolic power with the mainstream media. Corporate heads are great at saying come back tomorrow to schedule an interview. They will get rid of you with this tactic and you will never get the interview. Your target corporations are not below filing a lawsuit against you for slander or defamation of character if they think it will help them get rid of you or otherwise shut you up, so you should do the same. If they violate the contract they signed with you or a contract they signed for their business vision, so to speak, get publicity by filing a lawsuit against them and finding an activist lawyer to take the case. Corporate heads and corporate PR people are smart. They will wine and dine you to get you out of the media eye and make you feel good. Be ready when this tactic is used. Don't let them seduce you down the river. Shadow the VIPs of your target organizations. Spook them a bit. Follow them around. There is no law about stalking as long as you keep a discreet distance. Simply have protesters with signs wherever they go that's public and high profile. Start your own company that is an alternative to the chemical products out there like organic soaps, recycled products, etc. Make sure you're targeting the proper, offending party, not just the dumb clone front people. Find out who controls the power and money in any issue, then target them. Unless you have a clear goal in any situation, you're doomed to be superficial at best. Know who the enemy is and target them. Activism Action 10. It's all about media coverage. Without the media, you might as well be talking to the wind. Even if the media don't show, have your own people taping it to show to the media later if they're interested. In any activist situation, don't just let it go at that. Follow it up later to see if the other side has complied, made concessions, or changed their policy and behavior. Think like your opposition. What would they do? Think it through. Anticipate as much as you can. Study the history of how the law enforcement authorities have dealt with activism in your area in the past, look through media archives and newspaper microfilm. Learn from this and counter what you expect them to do. Put graffiti up on walls and in bathrooms. Have events that are fun and inject your cause's message along the way, like concerts and dances. Whenever your opposition is making any kind of public display, you should get out there as the official opposition and make your presence felt. Infiltrate your opposition groups. Look out for infiltrators in your group and expose them. Don't be too paranoid. Sabotage billboards. Adbusters.org. Get your own billboards or advertise your cause somehow in a grand way. When you make any kind of sign, it has to be big enough such that a passing car going at 30 miles per hour can easily see it. I always see signs for yard sales on lamp posts where the font is so small that no one in a passing car can read it. Make your letters big and thick, otherwise people won't see them. Make signs light enough to carry, with creative slogans and even a recognizable symbol or a cute picture to go along with it. The right picture is worth 1,000 words. Copy ideas that the local politicians use around election time. They use the cheapest material around. Local printing shops can help you out. Don't just rely on one person's signs. Consider big, sprawling banners that several people hold. These attract attention and look impressive. Sabotage legitimate corporate billboards by changing their original message into one which you create that's witty, kind of like changing a Marlboro Man billboard/website into a Cancer Man billboard/website. Get cool bumper stickers and buttons printed up. Pass them out and paste them over advertisements and anywhere else you want. Try to disrupt the business of target corporations with any creative idea you can think of. Look for sympathetic clergy who will mention your cause at their masses. The Darwin Awards are an award they give out for idiots, just like Blackstone's Worst Dressed and Ebert's Worst Movies of the Year. You could invent some awards for the worst company in some area and try to get publicity for it. Be wary of nutcases allying themselves to your group, like the anti-abortionist guy who went off killing abortion doctors or the people who went around destroying the equipment of logging companies. While you might be sympathetic to what they've done, you can't tie yourself to them, otherwise you might face civil and criminal charges at some point in time as being part of a conspiracy. You have to either talk to them to ask that they tone down their act, or tell them that even though you agree with them, you can't publicly tie yourself to them because you risk trouble from the heat. You can try to keep them out of the loop of your group by not telling them about protests and other events, or send out a public disclaimer stating that there are a minority of extremists in your cause who condone and commit illegal actions that you don't approve of. Keep repeating the message that you are a moderate group that doesn't go to extremes to get your message across. Sometimes zealots for your cause are hired guns and friends of the opposition. Check them out to see if they're phonies sent there to disrupt and try to destroy your operations. Put their name into search engines. Regardless of how moderate you are, your opposition will try to brand you as a stupid, one-dimensional, sinister, extremist buffoon, so be ready for it. Your character will be assassinated. As an activist, you're just like a politician, target practice for anyone who gives enough of a damn to take aim and shoot. Activism is hard work. Pace yourself such that you stay inspired, don't burn out and become cynical. Call radio talk shows and send letters to the editor to get your point across. Activism Action 11. Don't assume only people like you share your vision. Lots of straight-looking people feel exactly like you do. Good activism is building a national network of activists and local groups of activists who want to play their part. What matters is that what you do works. Try things until you find what works for you. Know your cause in case someone wants to dictate you. When you do something and it works, remember it and learn from it. If something you try isn't so successful, learn from that too. Break your country or region down into areas and appoint a leader for each area who will manage it through a website and email mailing list. The central organization provides further backup and support. Start an e-newsletter. Send out the news once every 2 to 4 weeks. Have a plan or training info to train your volunteers and workers. The best way to learn is through experience. You could get undercover cops mixed in with your volunteers. It's common for radical activist groups. Keep a website where useful information is placed, including archives and links to other websites. Some corporations and/or the government might think nothing of destroying your website and everything on it as sabotage. Have backups of everything. Don't think the government or big corporations are above that. Expect postal mail and all email to be monitored. There is no such thing as perfect activism. Do what you can do as you go along. Recruit allied groups for marches, boycotts, etc. Send press releases of events. Local media depends on contributions from local people who have something to say. This includes you. There are 2 easy ways to start getting your arguments heard. 1. Letters to the press and radio phone-in shows. Local newspapers are willing to print letters. When writing to the local papers, react quickly when critiqued in the newspaper or when a new issue hits. The newspaper will take your rebuttal. Keep it simple. Use clear and simple language and try to avoid clichés. 2. Ask to appear as a guest on local radio and TV shows. When you are going on air, have key points ready. Anticipate the questions that somebody might ask you. Answer briefly. Don't give bullshit answers. Speak slowly and clearly. Be friendly. Try to sound sympathetic to callers if you are on a phone-in, no matter how wrong, hostile, or rude they are to you. If the opposition comes across as being extremist, that's a victory for you because anger always looks bad. Look friendly and smart on TV. It really makes a difference. Appearing spontaneous takes a lot of preparation. Pass out leaflets door to door. Leave them in the mailbox. Lobby local politicians about your issues. Publicize your group and recruit new activists in real life and on the web. Make modest plans which you can actually achieve rather than ambitious plans which you cannot. If someone is willing to help, get them to do something straight away. It's bad for morale if people offer help only to hear nothing for months on end. As your group grows, you can move on to larger and more complicated projects. Maintain regular appearances on the local radio. To get into the media, you need to present journalists with a story which they can write up. A story is factual and contains one, or more of the following elements. New information. Controversy. Heroes and villains. A new chapter in a saga. Involves a famous person. Immediate relevance. A local angle. Has the interests of most of the people at heart. It stops oppression. To control the story in the media, make your views into clear and appealing stories. Journalists are always busy. They need more than just a good idea before they will use your story. You have to help them decide what to say. Make sure the story falls into at least one and preferably more of the categories above, then create your press release. Keep a simple message of freedom that can have meaning for everybody. Get permission to set up a booth at a shopping mall or at a festival on a Saturday or hand out pamphlets in front of it. Put a banner up. Wear a t-shirt of your cause. Take pictures to put on your website. If you can't get permission, stay on the sidewalk. Big department stores own their parking lots. They can kick you off if they want. Don't go on private property. Be as warm and welcoming as possible. Look as if you want to be there. Be polite, answer questions but don't waste time trying to convert people. The main purpose is to distribute information to passers-by. Get bumper stickers and badges made. Hand them out. If you can afford baseball hats, stickers, and even free t-shirts, you can get a lot of publicity by giving them out near a high school or college. This group goes out a lot and will wear a t-shirt of a trendy cause. This is a good reason to pick a cool-sounding name. Sell t-shirts about the cause at the website. Solicit donations from your e-zine mailing list no more than twice a year. You might also contact local trade unions, business groups, chambers of commerce, the WI, and other associations. These might be interested in your cause. When speaking in public, speak from the heart. Speak deliberately slowly. Stick to a few points only. If you are attacked while speaking, take your time. Finish your point before you answer or take counterpoints. This will give you time to think and let the audience know you are not flustered. Take leaflets and other information with you when you go to speak at meetings. If you are asked a question you cannot answer, use the old politician trick of answering a different question. Continue to recruit new people. Assign responsibilities to people in a way that uses their talents and available time best. You needn't let this division of responsibilities become too formal, though. Flexibility remains the key to success. Dramatize the subject to get your message covered by the media. Activism Action 12. Most people will not become activists until they are ostracized and intimidated by others and/or the government and lose something like their jobs, houses, cars, etc. Right now, most people are complacent and comfortable, but it doesn't mean life is fine. We live in a total cesspool, which starts at the criminal behavior of our elected politicians. Fraud and corruption is a routine part of their business. Focus on one specific issue. Don't say a broad general thing like the system is screwed, they're all crooks. Say exactly what you want. Create a group, either online, in real life, or both. Start a website. Build a mailing list. Oftentimes emails to media get you nowhere. ACD through the mail is more effective. Contact radio talk shows. Try to unite with other activists. Activists can be phony and self-centered too. How many are there just to get chicks as opposed to real people? Always BCC your email mailing list when you send out a mass message. The subject line should read something that captures the imagination and/or creates anger. Add pictures to your articles/stories. Post your activist articles to general article websites like Scribd, Buzzle, ezinearticles.com, etc. Don't rant. Hit on one or two specific points. Campaign managers never let their politicians rant. They always have one or two points to focus on. If you become an activist, protect your internet connection and computer, because an enemy might try to destroy your computer with malware. Always let the people judge. Don't try to shut crazy right-wingers up. Let them all talk. Don't look like a nut in trying to attack them. Stay cool. Stick to your point. Activism Action 13. If you want to be an activist, beware of committing libel, publicly spreading untruths about a person, corporation, or organization. The second thing you could be charged for is publicly presenting private facts, even if they're true, because you could be imposing on someone else's or some corporation's right to privacy. It's all about connecting with people to promote a cause. Create a friendly website. Encourage people to sign an online petition for something or to sign up as members to get free email newsletters. When you create content for a public presentation, focus on evidence. Add information from other places in the alternative press to fill out the story. Cite sources. The average person does not have an activist mindset. They can't relate to activist thought, so you have to convince them slowly. You can't start at full speed. Don't start talking about a secret society global conspiracy. Keep it simple. Pass out handouts at a presentation. Pass around a sign-up sheet on a clipboard to get email addresses and phone numbers for future activities. You can show any of the free documentaries available online at a public place with a TV or DVD machine with a big screen, or use it as a warm-up to your talk. The mainstream media trivializes a term like conspiracy, which is why you need evidence, and you need to act a little bit skeptical too, like saying just suppose this is happening, and everybody is dismissing it. Pick a name for your group or website that says what you're all about without sounding screwed up and extreme. Get one of your talks recorded to put on a DVD to pass out and to put on the internet. The public library might let your community group use their meeting room without charge. You can also try community centers, senior centers, hospitals, churches, high schools, and colleges. Get a free place to use at a local college by finding a student group, student, or faculty member to sponsor you. Once you have given the talk, interested students can set up a club for the group on campus, and all future facility reservations will be free. Publicize the event in your community through local community websites, possibly posting your sign on lamp posts if it's legal, community boards like at the supermarket, church, colleges, the library, etc. Go back to the main bulletin board sites and replace any that have been torn down. Some store owners will give permission for a flyer in their window or on their wall if it's not controversial and you're polite. Put a few flyers on car windshields, but not a lot, because it is illegal in some places. Target the windshields, like people at a singles apartment might be more open to going out to a new event than business people working regular jobs. Some radio shows and radio stations are willing to make public service announcements, PSAs, a week or two before the event. A PSA should be brief enough that it can be read over the air by an announcer in about 12 seconds. You could drop the PSA off at the radio station in person, mail it or email it with a note like the following. Dear, station name, Program Manager. I represent a local non-profit community group, and we would appreciate your reading the enclosed PSA over the air anytime before the day of the event, September 7th. Name. Phone. Email address. Thank you. Send the PSA to the community calendar of your local newspapers. A local monthly may need as much as 6 weeks advance so they can get it in before they publish it. Try to get interviews on local radio and TV stations. Stand in a public place and hand out flyers. Do it in front of the Student Union building on the college campus. Be optimistic at your lecture. Talk about the specific small problem you want to solve. Tell the people you need their help. Ask them to leave their names and contact information. Steer them to your website. If someone gets angry or wants to argue, stay calm and tell the guy you're here to talk about your ideas. If he doesn't like them, he can leave. Keep on presenting your points. If someone wants to argue, tell them you'll be happy to talk to him or her later, but right now, you're making a presentation for the people who came. You didn't come to argue. Present your material as though it's your job. The way the audience responds is irrelevant to you doing a good job. Contact local like-minded groups and group leaders to tell them about your activist events. Contact politicians and tell them about your activist events. Send them emails inviting them to your website. Join other activist groups, particularly local ones.